You go find it. You're on your own.
Yeah.
We don't support it. Goodbye.
Windows 10 doesn't have all of the drivers because one of my computers is still on Windows 8 because I have a printer and there's no Windows 10 driver for it. And you know, when you have these old printers, they're not going to come up with it. Just because you got a new operating system, they're not going to come up with a new driver.
Yeah.
So I'll have one Windows 8 until that printer dies.
And one of them's a Microsoft camera, a live cam. It's a crap cam on Windows 10. And they're flaky.
You guys have been hearing about the drive toward artificial intelligence. Amazon and everybody in his uncle is spending lots of money on it.
Now, this is the artificial intelligence 20 years ago is taken over. We're going to put it on the help desk. That's what they were doing 20 years ago. A friend of mine put it on the help
I think
desk.
it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
What's these things that Amazon, a lot of people have bought them. They have this little thing that sits on the desk.
Alexa.
Alexa.
Yeah.
You know, just ask Alexa stuff.
Well,
right now it's kind of simple.
Have you seen Google Home?
No.
Google Home's going to compete with it, and it's probably going to blow it away.
Hmm.
It's a little box, yay big, sits on your desk.
Google is spending a lot of money on that too. I mean, a lot of engineering money on it.
So what does this box do, right?
I don't know. I signed up to be
Yeah,
notified
yeah,
when they
so-
were going to be available.
What it is, if you think about Siri, what Siri does now, you ask Siri stuff, Siri goes out to the internet and reports back.
These boxes do the same thing,
The
only
same thing, only better.
without a screen.
Plus,
Yeah.
they're better at understanding natural language. It's like Siri's going to tell you a lot of time, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, so the new ones can do better interpretation. They handle voice better. Oh, they also have a translator. They have these real-time translators.
Yeah.
I remember there was a commercial at AT&T. It was called "You Will." God, it was like 2000 or something like that, maybe earlier. And they were projecting the future. And one of the things they had in there is you had this wedding, and these people were communicating different languages about ordering stuff, and they were doing it over the internet. You know, now you couldn't do it then, but the whole idea is that you will. And now you can do that kind of thing. You can even do it with your phone. My wife plays that game sometimes. She will want to ask somebody something in Spanish, so she'll ask the phone to say it, and then she'll say it. You know?
Yeah, one of the things we were talking about today with that phone, the internet phone system that Microsoft bought, they have a text version that allows you to text the Chinese, and it translates the text. Nice feature. Okay, Google.
What do we do with the people? Got an
I
answer?
picked up what you
Okay,
said.
yeah. What do we do with the people?
What did we do with the people? Okay, Google. What did we do with the people?
According to Wikipedia, Google is an American multinational technology company specializing in internet-related services and products.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Google.
So now they've got it. This is a $150 PC that has OK Google like his $300 phone.
And everything's going off. His went, mine went, you said it.
Oh, okay.
Does Google do that?
You got OK Google. He's got OK Google on that.
I heard his.
OK
Stop,
Google.
Stop it.
You can turn that on. You can turn that on to your phone too.
I have done that.
Yeah.
It's ready and good.
These new devices, the Amazon Echo, which has Alexa in it, and the Google Home, which would, I think they got rid of the OK part. I think it's just, hey Google now.
Okay.
But it's the same thing. You just talk to it.
Yeah.
And you tell it. So
Sure.
we've kind of got it in our phone, but our phones are still pretty stupid about it.
Yeah. Okay, Google. Find directions to Kansas City.
Kansas City is 8 hours and 55 Kansas City is 8 hours and 55 minutes from your location by car and light traffic. Here are your directions.
Okay, so you can click on this.
Is that it?
Well, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
If you're connected to my router, that's only got to be.
Okay.
Hey. Hey, how long have I been gone?
Long enough, maybe.
Somebody got a haircut?
And then you click on it and it brings up the map, and then you click go.
Well, I watched the video for that Google at Home or Home Google thing, and it'll ask you if you want it to send the map to your phone or to your GPS.
Yeah.
Or
If you use Google Maps, it'll send it to your phone.
I think you're going to have to stop for me to share.
you got to stop casting. If he wants
okay.
to share his screen.
Well, do I have to stop or do
Yeah.
you should just be able to take over?
It doesn't work right.
Okay.
Play nice.
All right. It's in the past. It just it's a little confused. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
And this works great.
You
It's
probably
pretty good.
you have to select one of your screens.
Nice, huh?
There you go.
I can find it.
There you go.
You can find me.
There it is. Woo!
Okay.
Now,
By Frank
You want-
Hill,
you want to know what you
by Hillary Clinton.
did a little
Huh?
funky?
What's that?
You didn't actually share the screen. You just shared that app. So it didn't expand it to the screen. So you're going to probably have to stop casting and then do the whole thing over again.
Use the pull down on the right thing. Is that what you're saying? No.
Stop sharing.
Stop sharing.
No, I did pull down. I did it before.
Yeah, I saw what you clicked on. You clicked on just share that one screen.
Here we go.
So
And I did this. Then I did this.
yeah,
And I said cast screen window
yeah.
experimental
And then
Chromecast.
Chromecast.
And then
Don't click that. Click the very first one where it says entire screen.
and where? Oh, right there.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay,
And then
now I
click
share.
share. Yeah.
Good pictures on
That's right. I
Chromecast.
shared the application.
You just shared the app.
Yeah.
So it's never going to change anything.
British Columbia?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it should be much more intuitive to use, but
Google changes.
it works. It does what it's supposed to do. It's just not as easy to use as it should
I'm
be.
going from here
Okay,
to
let's go to
Vancouver
first.
for business, okay, and spend a week up there.
Okay.
It's nice, okay. But it's not.
Oh, yeah, we were you this time of year.
Okay.
In the morning, 70.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So
It works. It does what it's supposed to do. It's not as intuitive as it should be.
is that placed right?
Yeah, it's close enough.
Okay.
Cold, stays cold, stays cold.
So some people like to have their own email server, other than Hillary Clinton. Other than Hillary Clinton, you know. And I have had mine for just a very long time. And so I'll talk about the good part, the bad part, and the why of it all. The good part of the why of it all is that once upon a time, I wanted to be an ISP in the glorious sense of it, you know. That I wanted to sell all kinds of services and buy facilities from, big data centers and stuff like that. And I did have a T1 line for a short period of time, mainly because being from AT&T, I know that is high reliability. But Sanity came in and let that go.
Dropped again? Oh, no, not that.
Yeah.
Tell us it ain't so.
So your lightning bolt hit you, how bad was it?
It was bad. You have to keep paying for that thing, and you, of course, have to get enough money to cover it, which was the hard thing.
That was the hard part.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the case for running your own server, the case against, how you get started, how I chose a system. challenges and how it works. This is also one of those things where, and I say this a lot, and it's true. I mean, you just don't say today, oh, I'm going to build a web server and connect it to the internet. Two things at place. Always, there's stuff that you don't know. The other thing is the world is changing, and the versions of the components that go with your mail system and the versions of Linux and all that stuff is completely changing continuously. I'm actually bringing up another one now where I'm using CentOS 7, which is one of the latest versions of Red Hat. And I can't see anybody has installed it on CentOS 7. It's pretty close to what was done on one of the previous releases 6.5, so got some good instruction for that. And then I just sort of modify as I go. The email program itself, for systems like this, just the email part of it, the core may not really be a big deal, but you have all of these add-on kinds of processes that you keep adding it to it, and all this stuff has to work together. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how you got to get started and some of the challenges, and just briefly go over how it works. I'll show you a demo, and I'll show you a server that's running. I'll show you one that actually is causing me to go and change because, like I said, this thing's been running. It runs on a Pentium 3, and it's from 2001, 512 meg of RAM. It's got maybe, doesn't have a lot of 20 gig hard drive, something like that. It's actually small. One of the things that you really learn about, especially QMail, the one I'm using, it doesn't take a lot of resources. People are running these things on Raspberry Pi. Now, I wouldn't be the one to try to set it up on Raspberry Pi, but it's been done, which is a small footprint, low current, and as long as you don't have, a ton of traffic, you'll be fine. The one that I'm running now, as low powered as it is, you'd have no problem running a medium-sized company with it. That is, if you had 1,000 users and you're getting 10,000 emails a day.
Wow.
Still work. Okay, challenges. One, you're gonna have to spend some money. Some of this, in my case, I had already spent, but you need a domain name, and if you run a business anyway, you need a domain name. You need a static IP address, and as I said, I got in a long time ago. I got in after the T1 line, and so they gave me really the same kind of deal that I had with the T1 line. You say, okay, I need 12 IP addresses, and if you can justify what you are going to do with it, they give them to you. And then when you run out, you make another request, and they give you more. And so I've done that twice. So I now have 26. In the beginning, I even had a DNS. There's a DNS service, and I can go in and change my own DNS. What I can't do now is I can't add new domains to the DNS. So if I get additional DNS, I have to go to another service and pay for it. And you get them like 5 at a time kind of thing. For $35 a year, you can get DNS for 5 more domains. The more you buy, the cheaper it gets. You need some dedicated hardware, except that's really not a big deal. This thing will run on just the new system that I'm going to run it's a refurbished dual core processor from Micro Center. Costs $128. And it's got 8 gig of RAM, and it's got 240 gig of hard drive, just much more than I need just for this. Reliability is a challenge, but if you get the server, if you get it set up right, it's not really that much of a challenge. until I started having trouble with this server. I'd probably reboot it, maybe every 18 months or something like that. Basically, it just sat there and ran. I mean, if it went down, it may be from accident. And I have like a battery backup, so at least for an hour and a half, they'll stay up anyway. So once you get it set up, reliability is very good. Configuration is it's a problem because there's a lot of stuff to do. At the end, I'll show you kind of a list of things that need to be done to configure the email system starting out. And that's not the whole list, because you have to have, if you go the whole route, you have to have Apache running, and a lot of people will use MySQL. I don't use MySQL, but I do use Apache. Unless you have thousands of users, you don't need MySQL. Benefits, and some of these may be weak, but to host your own company email or to host your own anything, you have absolute control. One of the things when I first started trying to do stuff, I would I'd have sites and they'd be on GoDaddy or they'd be here and they'll be there, and there's just a lot of stuff they won't let you do. And it's better if you can do what you want to do, because you're going to suffer consequences. They're trying to protect their server, and that's fine. But it's good to have your own stuff. Another benefit that I don't list here is for a company that wants to maintain a brand. If your email is listed, at gmail.com, it's kind of an indicator that you may not be serious about this business stuff. So a lot of people don't care as much about it, having Gmail accounts now, as let's say 2005 or in the early days. They want to look professional, so they want an email that matches the domain. So that was an advantage. Another advantage that I don't mention here also is if I host your domain, I'll give you all the email accounts that you want. So if your company has 10 people or 15 people, they all can have an email address. It's not really costing me anything except setting it up the first time. If you do that now, if you get email from GoDaddy, they want to give you like a virtual server or something like that. What they really want to do is charge you a lot of money. Because I had this woman who she was going to let I was hosting her website, and she was going to let somebody in her church do it. And we were okay until we got to the email, because she wasn't paying anything with me. And then she went, and first of all, they were going to give her Exchange email, which is Microsoft, which is really expensive, Then she cut it down, and she got Linux mail. But she still spent about $45 a month for all of the people in her group to have email. From my point of view now, so I'm beyond that point, in 2001 when I wanted to be ISP, and so I don't care. A lot of what I was doing then was I was just making it work. I understand how it works. I understand how you get profit from this stuff now. So if I don't do email, if I don't do the hosting, it's fine, because the money, whatever money you make, you make it from maintenance. It's like I want to add a new page and I want it to do this, and so you can charge them probably more for that job than you get from a year of hosting. Hosting basically costs $20 a month, and everybody's going to charge you $20 a month.
Per user,
That's per domain.
per domain.
Per site.
Yeah, per site. Now, there's the difference between hosting and development.
Sure.
And you don't have as many people in the business of developing websites anymore. As a matter of fact, what GoDaddy will do is say, well, look, I'll do this for you for free, but I own the website, and then I'll charge you a certain fee per month. But, if you want to quit, I still maintain the domain. There was a time when you could do simple websites, and let's say you did like a brochure website for $800, and so you could do it in a week, less than a week, and there was some profit in it. Most of the things that you would do now, you have to add more stuff to it. And it's going to take you longer than a week. So, and plus people don't know what they're doing. And so, you'll have an agreement and they'll say, but I don't like that and I want this. And you're stuck. Even if you got some money up front, you're still stuck because you want to get to the end. And so it ends up being that you work real hard and didn't get a lot of money. It's much easier if they say, I have this website and I want to change it, because it's really clear. This is what I want to change. I'm going to charge you $75 an hour, or I'm going to charge you $50 an hour. It's going to take me these number of hours, and I'm willing to live with that because I can see it. I can't see the unknown, as they change their minds. And you have to go through this to just kind of know how that is. It's like I had this group where, these fonts, they were deep into the fonts, and that's the wrong side, and they could even tell the differences in the colors. It's like my eyes are just not that sharp. That color is different from this color. So it's tedious. You end up. It's a good side of it. The good side of it is that you end up with just very good website, very crisp. But the hard side of it is you spent time solving all these little problems. The user interface, like take what we're talking about with Google. Google or Gmail, at any time, they can decide they're going to change the email system. The look on this server has not changed. Well, it changed. No, it really hasn't changed since 2001. So if someone gets accustomed to a certain interface, you change it when you want. And I could change the look of the user interface it's mostly for the control part on the email. We'll get to that. But basically, I can keep the same format because you have control. Sometimes you also don't want to do these updates. So you can choose when you do the updates. And actually, you want to leave that alone, because if it causes a problem and you spend a day fixing it, there's no recovery. You're never going to get anything for that. You just spent some time. So I'm telling you benefits, but at the same time, you're seeing some hassles. Downtime. Downtime can be a problem with small systems. It can be a problem with big systems. Just to tell you the truth, I have not had a lot of trouble with downtime until I came upon this problem I have now with the servers. And if something is down, I don't have to wait. I don't have to wait for anything. I can take care of it. Hosting companies change hands, and sometimes they get embroiled in legal battles and stuff like that. And sometimes they just won't let you do stuff. And probably the best thing out of all of this, if you're in IT, you're going to learn a lot of stuff. Now, one of the things that I have decided, after this great thought of being internet service provider, it's a lot of headache, and it's probably not worth it. The other side is that even though I've learned a lot, I don't work for anybody either. So whatever I do from now on, it will just be for me. The basic thought that if I come up with an idea for a website, I'll build a website, I will host a website, I'll do everything, and I'll be fine. And whether it's super profitable or not, I'll be happier with that than just sort of dealing with, I spent a lot of years dealing with the corporation and stuff like that. And
trying to make somebody else happy.
Yeah, I see people trying to do that now. I see my son is trying to do that now. I don't want to do that anymore. But you do learn a lot. And part of even doing stuff within the club is that you just learn stuff, and it's one of those things that it keeps the mind stimulated. And you start thinking of the possibilities. Like I'm starting to think about quantum computing.
What computing?
Quantum computing.
Oh, okay.
That's sort of the next level, and it was just reminded me of a story. My son's a processor architect, so when they go recruiting at schools, the young engineers there, they want to know, well, what are you guys doing with quantum computers? And they tell them, you can't make any money off of that. So we're not doing anything.
There you go.
But when you're in school and you're idealistic or you're just interested, you want to know what this stuff is all about, and how can you get into it. So one of the things I'll probably do, just from a learning point of view, is and I've done some of it on quantum computing. The problem with it now is there's only certain number of problems that you can use it on. But like AI, it's one of those good dreaming kind of things. So if you put up a web server, you're going to learn a lot about Linux or Unix. The email system itself, it's really not that big a deal. The thing is making it work within the operating system. That is the big deal. And that's where the problems come in. Case against is hard. It's a hard thing. And even I'm going to show you these instructions, and people say constantly it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have just never found it to be that way.
1, 2, 3.
When I started out, what I was going to do is I was going to run Exchange server. Microsoft is a lot easier to install. But at the time, the best deal I could get was like $1,100 for it wasn't that many user licenses, like 25 user licenses or something like that. And Qmail was absolutely free. The other thing you can do with Qmail is you can do virtual hosting, meaning you can have, well, it's not just, it's Qmail. You can have multiple domains. Let's say I got this email server. It just doesn't serve Hiltronics.com or Hiltronics.net. If I want to bring on, 100 or 200 other companies, they all can run within that same space. That same email program will serve all of them.
Are you running multiple iterations of it, or is
No.
it the same one?
Same one.
Okay, it's just it's transparent.
It's transparent. You will have a folder. You have a set of mail directories for each domain, and you'll have a folder that has all the files with the users and the permissions and that kind of stuff. And the program, will work. It'll work on all of the domains at one time. Email comes in, the headers and stuff in the email is going to say which domain it's from. You're also going to know which mailbox it goes to. So it's an automatic thing. So,
Okay.
and this is a lot of companies, big companies now, they still run Qmail. Even right now, it's very ancient, but it doesn't cost anything. It's efficient. You can run it on Linux, and it's fine. Spam is a problem. Spam is a problem in general. One of the things that I haven't done yet is, because one of the things that helps is having a real good hardware firewall. And so I don't have a hardware firewall, but there's software that comes with Qmail that if you administer it properly, it does a pretty good job. And then I use something called Spam Fighter on the client side to get the rest. But I'll notice that in Cincinnati State, I will very seldom get any spam messages. So fighting the spam is a problem. Every now and then, too, and I haven't had it happen for a couple of years, you will have one of these situations, because you have to have like a control relay to make this work. Somebody will do some spoofing, and they will send email and make it look like it came from your server, and somebody will complain to the abuse, and then they'll go back to Time Warner and say, we have some issues. Mm-hmm. And then, I have to say, I'm going to take care of it. We'll be all right. And I tell you, the real simple solution to this, change the IP address. When you change the IP address, they essentially don't know who you are, and that's going to go away for a while. But if you start getting, bombarded with a lot of new spam, eventually you're going to get one of these abuse things, and they can shut down your service. The ISPs, they don't like this email stuff anyway, and in some cases they want to block your outgoing mail. They haven't done that to me. I talked to them, and they said, no, we're good people, we don't do that. But they can, because not a lot of people run their own email servers now.
Time Warner doesn't like it when you run your own server, but they will let you do it.
They tolerate it, so I'm good with them. I pay them every month. I never miss. So we're good.
Yeah, they don't like it.
Do you have the 10 gigabit or the 30 gigabit service?
Well, until recently, I had the 50 gigabit service.
Yeah.
I mean, did you pay extra for that?
Yeah, lots.
I said I never went that far. I have 10, and I've been thinking since they're giving all the commercial people 30, like people just start. 30 is like standard.
Yeah.
How come I can't get 30? I haven't asked them yet. I'm almost afraid to because they might want to charge me for something else.
We have recently decided that we can't afford what we had, so I dropped it clear down to almost no nothing.
I'll tell you something. If you 10 is great because I mean I stream the TVs and run servers and
I
all
think
that
I
kind
would
of
be
stuff.
happy with 7, but I dropped it way low. I dropped it
What, to 5? It doesn't go lower than that.
5,
Okay, it doesn't go lower than 5.
and it is slow.
15, I think, is a standard now.
Speed check, so.
What's that?
Got a question on speed check.
Speed check.
I got 10.
Yeah.
And I ran.
It should say
speed check
higher.
when it come with Cincinnati Bell. And it come back saying I got like a 2.5.
Okay, you should call them and they can fix it. When I was being ISP and service guy and all of that kind of stuff, that was kind of like a common problem. I would go out and people not getting the right bandwidth, you call them up, they make the adjustments at the office and you get your right speed. That's easily taken care of.
I only lowered ours because we still need the internet, but it's down to a price that we can afford right now, so paying for the ultra class internet was just insane.
It seems like
Moved too, didn't you?
Not yet, but we're getting ready to, and
Look,
that's why we need money.
it seems like since now they're almost universally giving you high speed that
Yeah.
you know it should be a problem for them giving you the low speed. This is my thinking because I'm thinking about asking.
Well, that's kind of what you were saying too, kinda.
They actually, I asked for can I get low speed? And they said, no, not in your area. You got it.
I got it.
And especially in my area, people are switching to Cincinnati Bell. And the reason they are is Cincinnati Bell is giving more speed just starting off. You know. So don't you want to compete?
At Time Warner, their standard was 10, then it went to 13, and now they're saying 15. And I got 13. I was getting 13, absolutely. And now they're claiming 15 is their standard speed. So you might want to check.
Yeah.
And see what it is.
I've been afraid they're going to give me some crap. That's why I haven't. We're going to have to charge you some more money. No. And I can't change.
Quite honestly, I was shocked that they offered me such a low speed, but they did. So I said, okay, we'll take that. But now I'm starting to think that I probably should have gone for something like 10.
10 would be good. Like I said,
I don't know if there is any speed. It's either their standard speed, which now I think is 15, or 5.
I actually haven't checked in a while, but I know that we stream TV almost all the time. Plus, I
On
have
10.
on 10,
Yeah.
and I have my servers connected. It all works fine.
Yeah, I've got 2 Roku.
Oh,
Roku's now.
yeah. I'm going to see how well it streams when I get home tonight.
I've been wondering about 5, if you could stream with 5.
I
probably
know
could.
it's brutally hard to watch a web page load.
You probably get with 5. You probably get a lot of buffering.
I just got the Roku TVs, and mine break up occasionally.
Mm.
It'll drop out. Enough of that.
Okay, so if you're going to have a email server, you need to have DNS. Most people are not equipped to set up their own DNS. This is actually another sort of benefit of going through this. So you learn how to set up all of that stuff. And like a lot of things, once you know how to do it, it's just not a big deal. But, you know, there's this leap you have to go through. There's this struggle. And they're not going to help you very much with it either. You know, either you know how to set up an MX record, or that's your problem. You know, so you have to know this stuff. Okay. To get started, you need to have access to a DNS server because, again, there are these records that you need to set up for the email server. and either your ISP is going to set them up, or you have to have the ability to set them up yourself. And it's not a lot of information, it's just something that's needed. So on the internet, your server is recognized, and the internet knows how to get traffic to your particular server. You need a computer. It doesn't have to be a huge, sophisticated server. Desktops work fine, you know. And you need an operating system, and in this case, you need a Linux operating system. This is not one of those jobs for Microsoft. I run Microsoft IIS web servers because they're easy to set up and it's easy to configure websites. This email system is called a mail transport agent, and you have Microsoft Exchange, which is really popular. Qmail, Postfix. SendMail was sort of the old original. Qmail is an improvement on SendMail. And there are a lot of others out there.
Are these POP?
These are POP. This one can be POP, or it can be IMAP, which is sort of the wetmail version of it. This particular first server, the one that's been around so long, I actually have wetmail on it, even though I really don't use it. I use Outlook, and so I set up Outlook to connect to this web server, and it's an Outlook client. If you want to use webmail with this particular program, you can do that too.
Now, the POP server handles integrated pictures and all that stuff?
When you look in the email, what you're going to see is HTML. And on your client, you can set whether you want to receive plain text or you want to receive HTML. So in HTML, you're going to get pictures and everything.
Handles attachments and all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of them out there. Basically, just pick something that you like. I picked this one because it didn't cost anything, and it's actually very popular. There used to be a lot of information out there on how to set up and living with Qmail and that kind of thing. Another thing that it does, the reason that you can have like high traffic, is you have email coming in the stream and you just queue them, because you can't put them all in the mailbox right away, especially if they're coming in rapidly.
Yeah.
But you can have these large queues, so you can queue up mail and then process them as the machine has time to do. This is kind of a picture of, you have your client, which is on your desktop, whatever you have. You have a LAN, and then you have a local mail server. And in my case, like, since it's in my basement, this is my mail server. Now the other thing is that people from other POPs, they can have their service on my mail server. I mean, they can have their mailbox and they can retrieve it on my mail server. But in my case, let's say I want to send an email. I want to connect to my mail server, and then the email is going to send out through the internet to whatever the far end SMTP part of the mail server is, and then it'll be put in their mailbox, and they can retrieve it from their email client.
Now, the client, the email client, is really just a browser here. Is that true?
Well, it's a browser if you're doing like IMAP or webmail. It could be Outlook or whatever program that runs on your local computer is a client. Like I use Outlook. I mean, I use Microsoft.
Okay, so Qmail supports Outlook?
Qmail definitely supports Outlook. It supports almost, I'm saying it doesn't support everything. It supports most clients. But since, in my case, anybody that has my email, I say, okay, use Outlook. If you don't use Outlook, use Outlook Express. If you have a Microsoft computer, you can get Outlook Express. I mean, it's not a rocket science kind of thing.
It's you can
Standard.
Yeah, standard.
Doesn't cost any money.
Okay.
If your client, if you're using a oddball client and it supports POP or IMAP, Qmail probably will support it. It might take it a little while to set up the client, but it probably will do it.
Yeah. POP is actually pretty standard.
Yeah,
So
POP is a real
Yeah.
standard.
And with POP, you're actually transferring the message to the client.
you transfer it to the client, and it's on your desktop mailbox. You keep your mail.
It depends on how you've got your client set up, because you can set up Outlook or Outlook Express to not delete the
On the server.
off the server.
Yeah. Now, the way I have it set up is it will keep, because that can get you into trouble if you keep it forever. So it'll keep it for a certain length of time, and then it's going to go away on the server. It's up to you to have downloaded it.
So you can set it up to say keep it up.
Keep it
I'm gonna
always.
do it from the server and never download
Right.
it.
Well, no, you can actually do that too, or you can download it and still keep it on the server. So you actually have two copies.
But what I never want to have happen is to store email on my local device.
Okay, you shouldn't want to store email on the server because it becomes a record. Just think of the trouble that people are getting in about this email.
I think of the disk space.
This
that
is
people that don't clean up their mail service, because I know these knuckleheads.
on your desktop. You probably got 200 gig drive, and you're not going to have a gig of email. Email is actually pretty condensed. I sort of use email like a database because it takes a long time for me to throw it away. Like I might throw away email from 4 years ago, because it always comes back to, wow, there's something in that email, and you can search for it and you can find it. It's like somebody said that you said something, because I used to especially have that. So this is what you said. Now here it is. This was the agreement. And so having on the email is kind of like a database.
Yeah, it is.
At Cincinnati State, as much as possible, they have a limit on you. I think you can keep, I think they let us keep up to a gig now, but it used to be a lot less.
Gig is still a lot.
That's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But, you have disagreements with students. You especially have disagreements with students.
The good news is they're not there but so many years, and then they're gone.
Yeah, but I had somebody say, there's this woman who went to Wisconsin or something like that, and she wanted to know what was covered in a class, and this was like 2008 or something like that, and I still had a lot of that stuff, and so I could send her email. I mean, I wouldn't have felt bad if I didn't, but if you keep it for a while, you always have it,
Yep.
So I think, though, from a legal point of view, especially with everybody being in the litigation now, it's better off that you don't have that stored on a network someplace so people can get to it. Like if you dealt with, Google probably has mail from day one. God. They have to store all that stuff.
There's some, we probably could find it. There's something, they have to keep email for so long before they get rid of it. And there's new devices that, who makes them? Barracuda, I think, makes them, and they archive the email.
Yeah, I mean
forever.
That's a whole.
Okay, but the thing is that and I'm paranoid about this because the stuff that I want to send my sons now, and usually I send them stuff in Gmail. They scan everything you send to them in Gmail. Like if I want to send some insurance policy numbers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you're afraid to send this stuff in Gmail.
We were talking about that today.
That's why you encrypt your email.
Yeah, or I could encrypt the file. It's kind of like a hassle, though.
Yeah.
So it's like, well,
It's like your pictures. They're doing image recognition on your pictures
right away.
Oh my God.
Even on your desktop, stuff that you haven't uploaded, they'll say, "Do you want to upload this?" I didn't ask. You should upload stuff on the website. So this is kind of standard communication arrangement. I tried because what time is that?
No, you're good.
Okay. I tried real hard to get a copy of Exchange because sort of been big into Microsoft. That's really what I wanted to do. But it doesn't have virtual hosting, and it was expensive. Qmail
You
was
said Microsoft. We
Yeah.
assumed it was expensive.
Qmail was free, open source, and it's very efficient. Runs on Linux, runs on most versions of Linux. You want really a well-supported version, like some version of Red Hat or Ubuntu or something like that, and you'll be fine. And there's a lot of people that have done it, so you got a lot of support. Okay, this is just some hype. It was the first security-aware mail transport agent. The reason this thing got to be popular is the guy that wrote it in, he put up a $10,000 reward. He took it back eventually. But he was, anybody who can hack it, he's going to give him this reward. And nobody did. You won't have a problem with people messing with your mail. You have problems with spam. And your problem would be if you had it, somebody hacking your Linux machine. And I've only had that happen, it may be a couple of times, but once I remember because it was some hackers from France, and they weren't trying to do anything with mail. They were running games. They had figured out how to, they were using up a whole bunch of CPU, and they turned it into the email server into a gaming machine. And so, they wiped them out and changed the IP address, and they were gone. If you look at the logging files, there are a lot of attacks. Every day. That's one of the things that when you start hosting servers, just don't look at that stuff. Just try to do the best you can with security. Don't look at it every day because it'll tell you stop. Don't use this stuff.
It's my very first email.
Wow. 10/18/07.
My very first email.
So you send mail out there. If you ever go to court, we got your email. People get in trouble every day with that stuff. I'm not totally paranoid and I don't have anything that I think I'm sending that would be a problem, but I don't know. It just makes you look paranoid. You can run it on underpowered computers. It run the second server that I have it's got more memory in it, but the one that's been running the longest has it's not 512K but 512 meg.
512K.
And it's reliable. Okay. I'm going to show you some instructions on how to install it. And again, this is kind of a choice thing. Different people I like CentOS because I've always used it. And there are other distributions which are clones of Red Hat. And you just really need a good set of instructions, and there are a lot of them out there. This server that I have now, there used to be a website called, and it's still there, called Qmail Rocks. That one was good because they had everything all in the same place, not everything, but most stuff, all in the same place. You could download it into a folder, and you just go one at a time, and you installed them. And you just you keep solving the problems until it ran pretty good. Now, this version now with the new server I'm bringing up, I'm using equivalent of, I guess, Red Hat 7 is CentOS 7.0, and it's a more modern version, and they've changed some stuff. Particularly, they've changed the run levels. There's a lot of initialization kind of stuff that's done with Linux, and of course they claim that they've simplified it. I don't necessarily see that, but I have to go with the flow. So my problem here is making the different processes run under this operating system. This CentOS uses a different scheme than they do on the new version that I have. And the reason it's not up now is because I'm still figuring that out. Okay, this is sort of the big picture. From the network, and that's called SMTP. Let's say if we're sitting here, and you're doing your email, then you're going to connect through TCP/IP to my server, and it's going to come into as a remote mail server, and it's going to come in as SMTP mail. And if you've ever set up mail, you know you set up the SMTP, and you're going to have a POP server. So you're going to come into the network here, and these are, they may not be the exact names of the programs, but these are programs you're going to interface with. And eventually you're going to get to QMail, SMTP, and remember I told you about queuing. These things are just files. And so you're going to come into this program, and it's going to queue them. And it's just going to save them. It has parameters to say what it is, and it's in this queue. Now there are two directions that you can go. You could go, especially if the email is coming in from someplace else and you want to save it in your mailbox, it can go this way, and you have a mailbox. And when we get to it, I'll show you what the mailboxes look for. There's another route where, even though you have mail servers from me, you can send a mail out to Gmail or something like that. And so you travel this route. And, you know, just from a simplistic point of view, that's it. There's a lot more stuff going on here, but, you know, if you wanted to understand what is happening, this is a good picture. There's another picture that's got all of the functions in there, and it's got all of the shell variables and what they're all used for. And the benefit of that is that if you're having trouble, you can kind of trace what's going on. And as you would imagine, it's going to take time to do that. And of course, you need to be a good Linux debugger, you know. And I have found cases where I had to actually read the source code. You know, if you have a problem, all the source code is there, you have access to it. So you actually can look at the source code and you say, oh, this is what they mean. And sometimes, especially when I first started, that was the easiest way to get through problems. Okay, now you guys have heard of PuTTY, right? And PuTTY is actually a good way to administer email server because it uses secure shell. And I think I'll take a look at this one. There's a program called QMail@min, which you don't use that much. You can also do this stuff through the command line. I mean, you can add domains, you can add users, you can change permissions, you can do a whole bunch of stuff. But you have to know more about what you're doing. If you use the web interface, that's a lot easier to do. It's less secure, but it's not as hard to operate. And this is actually one of those add-on things. It has nothing to do with email. It's just an administrative program that somebody wrote and added on. There's another administrative program that lets you set up email lists and things like that. But those are just add-ons. If you're going to run QMail, eventually it's going to come. You need an Apache web server, which is just another thing you have to deal with. Apache is not as hard to set up. The biggest thing is getting your config file. This file called http.conf, and there's instructions on how you set it up, but it's not nearly the problem that QMail is. You have manual pages for all of this stuff, and the manual pages will be on your Linux server, and if it's not, you can download them. You will need Outlook if you, what time do we have? If I have time, I'll show you how to set it up with Outlook. The thing about setting up mail with Outlook, it doesn't matter. Setting it up for Outlook is the same as setting it up for Fuse. You just need to know what the SMTP and the POP server names are. I mean, that's
and what ports they're on,
yeah.
And if they use, what kind of security they use,
yeah.
if any.
Yeah. Okay, now do I want to?
It's
all right, I'm gonna do the
straightforward.
The PuTTY. Did I link it? Okay, that's really little. Okay, you've probably seen this screen, and if you wanted to get into a Linux machine, this is kind of the route. The way it comes up all at once is the host name or IP address. So all right, now this is the email address of my ancient and the one that acts up now. So let's click on open. And this is something else that you can't do now. I'm gonna log in as root. I know this is a bad thing, but it hasn't got me in trouble. Most of the time now, you log in as admin or something, you have to SU to root. But this is a very old version of the operating system. Plus, I have a good password. Oh, I probably messed it up. I typed password wrong. Okay, so it tells me my last login. And if you know, well, first I'll show you where the source was for install. Oh no, CD. No, that's not it. No, yes it is. Oh, is that everything?
It's a little hard to see.
Oh, you can't see it. And that's not all of it anyway. CD, CD. Qmail. It is hard. It's hard to even see now. For me. Oh. Oh, there it is. Qmail rocks. All right. One of the this is a very old instruction set, but it tells you to create a folder called Qmail rocks, and then you download all of this stuff and you load it into Qmail rocks, and then sequentially you go through and you install this stuff. And there is more peripheral stuff, like this file that says qmail-1.03.tar.gz. That contains most of your Qmail stuff. All this other stuff is just extra. You have the spam fighter, and you have another admin program, VQ admin. You have you got Spam Assassin, and there's a lot of programs that go with Spam Assassin. The way spam works is just like with your regular computers. You have a database, and you want to continually get updates on what the new viruses are. And then you have a program called Clam AV that does the update. And then you have another program, which I can't think the name of it, which will actually do the transfer of stuff into the database. You have programs that start and stop the mail server. You have like autoresponder, when you're out of town or something like that. So you have all of this stuff that you have to add on, after you do Qmail. You have Squirrel Mail, which is the that's webmail if you want to have it. So I'm not going to go through all this. I'm going to tell you what you have to do is you have to deal with all of this. You have to get it in, get it installed, and then there are scripts that control things. You got to get all your scripts, and there's probably 100 of them. get all your scripts working, and then you look at your processes and you say, oh, do I have them all running? And once you get it pretty much, you'll do things and it won't work, and so you just go from there and you troubleshoot. But it's not a one-day kind of thing. This is cd/home/vpopmail. Okay, and you have a folder called domains. Oh. Now I can add new domains, and I can add users, and I can do all of that stuff from the command line. Let's pick one. I thought I had hilltronics.net. Yeah, I do, because there's very little in this one. CD. And hilltronics.net has two. One is the postmaster, which is default, and the other one is Frank. And when the ID is set up, that folder structure is set up automatically. And what I have is there's a temp, which you're very seldom going to see anything in, and then there's a current. Oh, there's nothing there. And CD new. That's most likely spam. And this is not an email address that I will read that often, and it may not even be set up. And this becomes one of the problems. If you have a email ID and it's in your email system and you never look at it, it will just load up until you get to the limit. And ideally what you want to do is you want to set it up so that maybe the limit is 10 meg or something like that. Now, usually for my own accounts, I set it unlimited, which means that you could put 30 meg, you could put a gig. It just grows. The bad part is that you could silently use up all of your disk space. And maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was down to almost no disk space because I had a lot of these IDs that, whether they were mine or they were other people's, they just never used them and they filled up.
What are these?
These are text files that have email in them.
Those are actually the email messages.
Yeah. Let's see.
You're looking at the server.
1, 4, 6, 4, 8.
That number's probably a date.
Well, it's a name too. Then I'll do star, and I'll pipe to. Yeah, it's pipe to more.
Console, more. Okay.
That's a pager. What you're looking at is the HTML. It's an HTML message.
Okay.
And here you're just going to see the text.
The top part there, that's all the headers that you typically never see that unless you tell your email client to view the headers.
And I know it's spam because it's keep the belly, flatten your tummy by Friday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So these are all mail, and actually those, if those were caught by the spam filter, they would have been thrown on the floor. So those weren't caught by the spam filter. And most likely on Outlook, they will. And plus, I'm not as conscientious as I should. You can do a lot of manually configuring of the spam filter. What I always notice, well, Google, you don't get that many, and Cincinnati State, just very seldom do you ever get a spam message. And I know part of that's because they have these Barracuda firewalls, and it costs $600, I'm not willing to spend $600 on shit. But this is the file structure to set up on. Okay, let's see if I can do QMail stat.
What is the S equal thing?
I have no idea. That's part of the naming scheme.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
It's a comma. It looks like a name,
it's a name.
file name, comma, and comma something is part of the naming scheme?
It's part of the naming scheme.
Oh, okay.
One of those numbers is going to be a date and time when it was received, and one of those numbers is going to be the message number that it's got. And the third number, I don't remember what the third number is. One of them's date and time. One of them's how many the message, the actual physical message number.
Yeah.
Inside the database, and the third number means something, but I don't remember what it means.
Yeah, I have just never cared.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Now, no, I need to do this. To make sure the thing is running, PS minus AUX. And when you know what to look for, you know that it's running by, like I see this thing here, I see QMail Pop3D. These are processes that are running. QMail Send. These are little demons and processes that are running all the time. If there's work, they'll do something. And there's log. There's Apache. The other thing,
What is Apache doing?
Apache is just a web server that's running just in case I want to go and connect either to get the mail or to do some configuration. What else I want to do? Top. Here's something this is what I used to do every day. And the only thing that I'm looking for here is that I'm looking for weights. Like if there is some blocking, this WA, that's how long or what percentage of the time you're waiting for stuff to happen. And then idle, the thing is 96% to 98% idle, which is what it should be.
Basically, it doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do anything. Basically, it does nothing. That's why you don't need a big computer and a powerful computer. It's not doing anything.
It's busy, it just queues them.
Yeah. Let me do the queue.
Here.
Okay. Just now it's not doing anything. A lot of times you can see if there's a active message. You can see it. Most of the time it's not doing anything. Especially this one, it doesn't have a lot of people on it. If you had a lot of traffic, what you see up here, mail.middletown.
Yeah, there's something on.
Yeah, there's something going on, but there's not a lot of stuff going on. There's another SMTP process. There's not a lot of stuff going on. So that's why you don't really need a real powerful machine. And if you had Raspberry Pi or some of these other new things, you could run QMail.
If you were Google or something, you probably would want something a little bit more powerful than an old Pentium 3.
Yeah, the new computer.
They've got millions of people connecting to them every couple of seconds.
They have, and I have some real servers. What I mean by real servers is the dual power supply, dual fans, and lots of memory and all this kind of stuff. But for especially Linux mail servers, you just don't need a lot of power. The new one that I'm putting together, it's about 20 times as powerful as it needs to be. But again, it's going to cost me already cost me $128.
Man.
Big bucks.
Man, the big bucks.
Okay, so the only thing that there's one more thing that I can show you beyond this. Let's open this up. QMail. It's like an admin console. And let's see, I was on Hilltronics.net. And see if I remember it. Okay, you get another console. So if I wanted to create a new email account, I type it in, and I'd say Jerry@Hilltronics.net. And all right, so I just added Jerry Jones.
Probably ran some sort of script on the server
Yeah,
that actually added
yeah.
the,
Now you can actually do this from the command line.
Right.
It's just not that easy. And then I could delete them just like that. Confirm. So Jerry's gone. So this is not quite as safe. If you do it from the command line, nobody's going to see you do it. You can also turn this stuff off. Nobody uses this web interface but me. The other thing that happens, you don't add users that frequently. Companies are small. This one woman that I still host, she's got probably about 10 people. She's got a little manufacturing place, and her IDs go by functions like admin and accounting and stuff like that. And even if they change people, it just doesn't change. So you never bother with it. And so, just in general, I wouldn't bother with email. But after you get it set up, it's not a problem. And it just turns out to be an advantage, because if you have 5 or 10 people, you don't want to pay the ISP. I mean, you could use Google. That's probably the best route, and just have a website. But the web server's there. It works. I have another one just like this that I'm not having any problems with at all. And I could, since there's not that much traffic, I could take everything off of this one and put it on that other one, and I would be fine. But the thing the AT&T way of thinking is that you should have 2. Because if something goes wrong, you don't want to be totally out of the email business, One of the things that happened when I was in San Francisco, this woman called me. It was like Sunday, it was Saturday morning or something like that. And she was having trouble with her email. I didn't have to transfer it. I was able to actually fix it on this server. But, if I didn't have another one, I'd have to say, well, you're not going to have email for a while. Which would have been okay, but, I don't know. This is my thinking before, and it's still my thinking. Plus, it doesn't cost that much. All right, now I'm not going to show you how to set up it up on Outlook, because it's just really not a big deal. And so, questions? Anybody ready to run their mail server?
That's good. I like the how-to and what's going on. That's great.
I know what I didn't show you. I never showed you those instructions.
oh,
Okay, let's do that.
the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Yeah,
instructions.
it's 30 of them. Oh, previous. And I just did that for effect, because it's worse than, okay. This file happens to be loaded. This is something by a guy on the internet who did a pretty good job on it. Okay, he says some of the same thing I say. All right, these are packages. This is the first package. This is an updated one from the one that I have already installed. And so those are initial.
Yum.
Then you go to Yum and you get your C compiler. And then here's some more stuff you gotta get. And you put it all in one place. Then you gotta create user groups and usernames.
Oh, okay.
And you have to get all your permissions right on this stuff, or it just sort of doesn't work. And then you have these patches that you need to install. You got to set up some aliases for the daemons that are going to be running. Configure your mail directories. And this is on step 4.
Has anybody tried to hack into yours?
Not the email. I've gotten hacked on my. I got hacked and they started to use it for a game server. This is a few years back. Oh, they're trying every day. You know, I used to look at the log files. This was another exercise I used to go through just to see how they were trying. Just never got in. Same thing with web servers. There are people trying to hack them daily. They're trying to log in with names like Chuck and password like password.
Password like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you can even install a certificate on this. But now you see, I'm past 13. Let's see. Okay, I got EPOP mail. I'm about down to,
About halfway.
yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do to install these things. And most of it is going to go fairly well. You're going to make mistakes, and then in some cases, like they'll tell you do wget and get a certain version that won't be there. You'll have to get another version. You have to figure out where you get that version from. And that version may be a little bit different, and you just compensate. But that's the kind of.
There would be people that do this stuff every day, and just send them a couple $100.
Oh, you could. I was talking about there's a different, they have a different name now, but these people in India. Well, it's not just India; they're everywhere. It was called Rent-A-Coder, and what you do is you have a job, and you go put your job out on that site, and they bid for it, you know, and you probably could. Let's see, 5 years ago you could get this done for about $75. Usually it would be somebody from India who would bid on it. You give them a password, and they'll set it up. You know, the only bad thing is that it's very specific. They like this thing is 3 steps. They did the steps, something didn't work. That's your problem. It's not quite like when I deal with somebody here. I'm going to make sure it gets to the end, and if there's some problem, then you sort of eat the cost. It's just kind of the way things are done. It's done a little bit different there. So you may get it halfway done, and you might have to contract somebody else to finish it. But probably even now, for $150, I can get this set up. I'm just not ready to go that way now yet.
You're pretty cheap.
Yeah. Plus, it's a good experience.
Yeah.
If I was really busy, I wouldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff that you learn about Linux. Okay, like one of the things that happens is nobody ever tells you that you have to have Perl. And then you get down, you got some Perl script. So now you got to go out and install Perl. It's not that it's that big of a deal, but you run into just a lot of that kind of stuff.
That's I don't know if Perl is. Python's usually the one that I run into.
Yeah, Python's
nobody tells you, but it's always installed. It's always pre-installed.
Python's in this one too. You need Python. But when you start in the beginning, that's not one that they tell you that you need to download.
Perl, they may assume that it's pre-installed on.
Now the very last thing is this thing that's really pretty much already done. Setting up the MX records on a DNS server. And they tell you how to do this. This is not a, it's not a complicated thing. In the case of setting up these records, you just need to know how they do it and what it's mean. Like you have to have an A record, you need to know what A record is. You have to have MX record. And it's not going to be that much typing or anything to set it up. You just need to know what it is and what do you need to type, and it takes a few minutes and you're done. Here's another key thing too, is that these relays. If you don't have these, you need, in certain cases, you need to have a relay for certain domains. But if you have an open relay, that means your server can be used for spam. You know, I mean, you could be the spammer,
All right.
and and somebody is going to complain. You know.
Yeah, they severely frown upon open relays.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is you get put on these lists. Your IP address can get put on a list. And then you need to jump through some hoops to get your IP address off the list. Now the thing will happen is if you stop using that thing for a while, use another one, it'll go away. So you know, in installing this, and that's what I'm doing now, you modify as needed. And then of course, you will have a running email server, and it will pretty much just work. Like once you get, the good thing about these, once you get these things configured, they just work. This thing has been running, again, since 2001, and most of the time it'll have uptime for at least a year or 2 years, unless, you know, you have a real bad power failure or something like that. They just plain run, to the point that lately, you know, I just forget about it, and that's how I ran into that. I'm running out of disk space here because I got all those email addresses out there that I should have deleted, and it's just continually using up space because I have it set to unlimited. But it's great fun. That's my story.
Okay.
Click
Good deal.
click stop there. Stop
Give Leroy something to
casting.
work on next week.
Oh, Leroy's set up. I don't want to set up a mail server. If I can help it.
No, you don't want to. Not unless you, I will say this, you know, if you start selling stuff on the internet, you want your own website, you want your own mail server, you want everything.
Yeah.
Because ultimately you're going to run into something that you want to do, and you're going to have to beg somebody, and they're not going to let you do it.
Yeah,
We have rules.
that's the reason that you want to run your own.
Yeah.
There's that Google at home thing.
Always on call.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So then, who was advertising something like that on TV?
Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They talk about these things now. Is that that's a direction that they're going.
It's going to be awesome.
Time to start breaking it down.
Yeah, I know. That thing's going to be awesome, and I'm going to get one.
What is it?
It's a personal assistant.
Something that looks like that cup that you can ask it
Like your
stuff.
phone, you can talk to and ask it questions.
They call them personal assistants.
I ask it all the time.